Harriet Hageman made history last month when she defeated Liz Cheney in the GOP primary for Wyoming's sole congressional seat. She's joining us live here. Harriet, thanks so much for coming back, and always good to see you. I'm curious to know, just to kind of catch us up, how have things been since the win?
Well, it's been an exciting 3 weeks. I have been busy continuing to travel around Wyoming. In fact, I was in Riverton last night for a dinner. It's about an 8-hour round trip, but we made it, and I had an opportunity to visit with some incredible people. Some of the folks from the area, as well as legislators from across the state, joined that dinner and those discussions, and that was fantastic. I've had several other events around the state as well. I also have been back in D.C. I had a hearing last week in front of the Court of Federal Claims on our property rights case that I'm continuing to handle. So things have been very busy, and I can assure you I cannot believe that it has been 3 weeks since the primary. It seems like it was maybe 2 or 3 days ago.
Right. You still have your day job as well, so you've got that going on as well. You've got a busy plate. You also have an op-ed, I believe, out. I wanted to put out there for the viewers, if I can, from the Washington Times, saying this: Wyoming GOP primary signals beginning to taking America back. And you write in part, quote, while incumbent Rep. Liz Cheney received an outsized amount of attention, the race was never about her. It was about the people of Wyoming who deserve a member of Congress who represents their values in Washington, D.C. And as people in Wyoming know already, as those in Congress will soon learn, I am more than just the woman who beat Liz Cheney, end quote. Elaborate for the viewers on that. You are more than just the woman who beat Liz Cheney.
Well, the focus of this race many times has been about Liz Cheney, and I understand that. She was an incumbent. She's Dick Cheney's daughter. There's no doubt that that legacy has helped her with her name recognition and actually being elected to the seat in the first place. But in my view, in a constitutional republic, which is what we are, we're mere representatives. We represent the people. And the big contrast, I think, or one of the largest contrasts between Liz Cheney and I throughout the race was she was back in Washington, D.C. She was focusing on the January 6th committee. She was focusing on things that are not important to Wyoming, whereas I was in Wyoming meeting with the people. I was talking about the issues such as inflation, the open border, the skyrocketing fuel costs, all of those things, the broken supply chain. I was talking to real people in Wyoming, not only about the problems, but real solutions. And as a water and natural resource and constitutional attorney for over 30 years, I have the experience and background to go back to Congress and actually be effective for the people of Wyoming, as well as people across the country, because what I have found is those are issues that are important to people in Nebraska and Arkansas and Virginia and Florida and California. It's just that so many of our political leaders want to talk about issues that are important to them rather than the issues that are important to the people of this country.
You know, you talk about issues being important to Wyoming and those that you represent, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts have been. You know how politics can get nasty, and we've seen a recent speech by President Biden beefing up his rhetoric against MAGA Republicans, separating them from America, if you will, in certain points of his speech, calling them Trumpies, semi-fascist. Here's that moment that had a lot of folks kind of confused by the dark red of behind him giving that speech. And I'm curious to know, as you watch in getting into this political realm yourself, where you see this country going. Is this current president, through his campaigning now, dividing this country, or is he unifying them the way he platformed on?
Well, he's never been a unifier, and anybody who's paid any attention to Joe Biden over the last 50 years knows that. That was rhetoric, that was political noise, and that was the media attempting to prop up someone who was clearly incompetent even at the time that he was running for the office. So it was just simply noise. And what this is, and the way that I see this, is it's pure deflection. What did I talk about when you asked me questions about what I'm doing and why I will be effective in Washington, D.C.? I'm talking about inflation, broken supply chain, the energy costs, the open border. I'm talking about the issues, and I want to find solutions to the issues that are important to Wyoming and the United States. This was stagecraft. The reason that Joe Biden's handlers did what they did, standing him up there in front of you, as you say, a blood red backdrop, very ominous lighting. It was purely about deflection. And the problem is that the media and so many of the people in the public actually took the bait. They want to focus on Donald Trump because they can't focus on their record. The record of the Democrats has been an abysmal failure. Joe Biden and the Democrats in power right now have destroyed everything that they've touched. We went from a 4% surplus in terms of oil and gas production to a 4% deficit. Again, we've got millions of people pouring across the southern border, more than the population of Wyoming as a whole. Every couple of months is crossing that southern border. We have so many important issues, so many things that have to be fixed. As I keep saying, we're running out of runway. We're running out of the ability to address what's happening, a $32 trillion debt. But what the Democrats and the media want to do is deflect.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Out of time with the U.S. Congressional nominee, Republican nominee there in Wyoming, Harriet Hageman, joining us live. Harriet, thanks so much. We appreciate you taking the time for the viewers today.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. September is historically the worst performing month for the stock market, so you better be ready for it. The Fed continues to aggressively raise rates, and J.P. Morgan is forecasting another mega rate hike September the 21st. Is that why Jamie Dimon said an economic hurricane is coming our way? Well, gold and silver have remained remarkably stable despite the Fed aggressively raising rates today. The Patriot Gold Group has a special incentive for Newsmax viewers. Huge! Now precious metals investors can enjoy the no-fee-for-life gold and silver IRA on qualifying rollovers, or enjoy free, discreet, insured shipping on all direct gold and silver purchases. Here's the number, 800-356-4470. Call 800-356-4470 today.